Hi guys, my name is Nonema Tigela. Welcome to my YouTube channel. So today I want us to go through the Senzomiwa case, and I want to say the title is No Case to Answer for the Accused. Let's apply that logic when it comes to this video, because at the end of the close, at the close of the state case, nothing came out of it. Absolutely nothing came out of it. That's the Senzomiwa trial. Anyway, this application is brought at the close of the state's case on the basis that no reasonable court properly directing itself on the law and the evidence could convict the accused on the evidence presented. Absolutely nothing. The test is not whether the accused might be guilty. The test is whether the state has produced evidence upon which a reasonable court could convict. And it has not. So let's get through it. Let's get through all of that and see what went wrong and stuff. Do you understand? Now, the governing legal test is, at the close of the state's case, the court must discharge the accused where, number one, I guess this is where 174 was coming in, and this is where Ujad Rata was supposed to do something, and he did not. But anyway, let's get through that. There is no evidence on one or more essential elements of the offense, or number two, the evidence is so poor, contradictory, or unreliable that no reasonable court could safely convict on it. Absolutely nothing. Where the state case rests primarily on internal inconsistent eyewitnesses' testimony, uncorroborated by independent forensic evidence, the court is not entitled to defer doubt to the defense case. The duty to acquit arises immediately, because that is exactly what happened in the Senzomiwa trial. The state's theory in brief: the state advances a robbery gone wrong narrative in relation to the killing of Senzomiwa, relying substantially on the eyewitness accounts of occupants on the house including Mthokozi Sitwala, Zandile Khumalo, Longo Twala, Tumelo Mahlala. Those are the people that we are dealing with currently. These witnesses were present during extreme violence, under acute stress, and later subject to disputed police interaction. Their evidence is therefore subject to heightened judicial caution. And then essential elements the state must establish. They needed to establish certain elements, okay? For the robbery narrative to survive even to the defense case, the state must have led evidence capable of proving: one, intent to rob; two, conduct consistent with robbery; three, a casual link between the robbery and the fatal shooting; four, reliable and uncontaminated evidence supporting that version. The state has failed to do anything about that. The state has failed on each element. Failure, number one, no evidence proving robbery intent. Absolutely nothing. The alleged robbery intent rests entirely on shouted demands, chaos, and subjective interpretation by frightened individuals or witnesses. There is no evidence that property was taken, because Nxumalo dealt with that thoroughly, because they tried to say cell phone was taken, blah, 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 but Nxumalo dealt with that. We listened and we heard all of that. And also a getaway plan existed. They said people ran into the park. People that came to assist, they did not see anyone there. Or the scene was controlled in a manner consistent with robbery. They cleaned the crime scene. That alone speaks volumes against the people that were inside the house. You can't be robbed and be cleaning the crime scene. Doesn't make sense. And so the legal consequence for that intent cannot be inferred from ambiguity and panic alone. There is therefore no prima facie proof of robbery intent. Absolutely none. Failure number two, forensic link between shooting and robbery. It is common cause that the firearm was never recovered right there or during that time. It was then at a later stage recovered. Okay, the firearm, no ballistic analysis exists for the firearm that was seen by the people that were inside the house. The eyewitnesses saw a firearm, which is a revolver. The eyewitnesses saw a firearm that has a wheel. The eyewitnesses saw a small firearm that is a revolver, according to people that understand firearms. No forensic sequencing establishes how or when the fatal shooting was fired. Nothing like that. So legal consequence when it comes to that, without forensic anchoring, the court cannot safely link the discharge of the firearm to furtherance of robbery. It can't. It doesn't make sense. At best, the evidence supports a firearm discharging during uncontrolled chaos. That does not constitute proof of robbery related homicide. Do you understand? Failure number 3, eyewitnesses evidence is internally contradictory on material facts. Let's deal with that. The state's own witnesses contradict each other on issues that go to the heart of the offense, including who participated in the kitchen scuffle, who had proximity to the firearm, the sequence of events at the critical moment, the timeline immediately before arrival at the scene. These are not peripheral discrepancies, but serious ones. And the legal consequence when it comes to that, the state witnesses are mutually destructive on material facts. The court is not permitted to choose a preferred version at this stage. Nope. Such contradictions create reasonable doubt as a matter of law, not credibility preference. Because what is this, son? What is this? How can we be in the same event, suffer the same trauma, and the telling of the story is different? It can't, especially important aspects of the story. Why would we say, no, that is not what happened? The other is saying that's what happened. It can't. Failure number 4 is that there was accusation is legally unproven, okay? And also the accusation regarding the Longwe situation and the cause of it all, okay? All witnesses speak of Longwe Twala pushing the armed intruder. Note that, armed intruder. However, no evidence establishes whether the shot preceded or followed that push. No forensic evidence establishes the orientation of the firearm. No evidence excludes accidental or reactive discharge. Nothing does that. The legal consequence, that means the cause of it all, causation cannot be inferred where timing is unresolved. The state has failed to prove that the fatal shot was fired in furtherance of robbery or even intentionally. They can't prove that. Failure number 5, evidence integrity is in dispute, contamination risk. Well, you do know that Mthokozi Sithwala has placed before the court allegations of coercion, assault, and pressure to alter statements by police. At that stage, the court is not required to decide whether these allegations are true. And Mthokozi, when it came to that, he was dealing with case 375, and of which on this case, we are dealing with case 636. Okay, so that it has not, once contamination is reasonably possible, consistency loses probative value. Corroboration must be independent. And in this situation, it is absent. So that was meant for case 375. He is doing it very wrong, if you ask me. Okay. And why the court may not defer these defects to the defense case. The state's failures are not curable by cross-examination of the accused. They relate to absence of proof, internal contradiction, and legal insufficiency. That is where the problem is. And the principle when it comes to this, an accused bears no duty to fill gaps in the state's case. To require the defense to answer speculation would invent the burden of proof, which lies where? To the state. Now, the only legal permissible outcome At the close of the state case, robbery intent is not proven. The causation is not established. Eyewitnesses' evidence is mutually destructive. Forensic corroboration is absent. Evidence integrity is in dispute. Taken cumulatively, the evidence is such that no reasonable court could convict the accused. That it cannot happen. The application for discharge or no case to answer must therefore succeed. Otherwise, Judge Rata would be using his so-called 55 years experience wrongly if he convicts the accused when it comes to this case. I don't know about you. Let's talk in the comment section. What are your thoughts when it comes to this? I want to hear your views. Please, let's discuss. I will see you on our next video. Just make sure you do not forget to like, to share, to comment, and most importantly, please make sure you are subscribed on the channel. Please make sure you are watching the videos up until the end and you are watching the ads that are coming through. When you are doing that, you will be supporting this channel financially and in numbers. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you.